Hello, grandkids. It's Mema for Stories with Mema. And Susie Q here is going to help us read a story because she won't leave Mema alone. But we're going to read another book by my friend G.R. Langston. We did Lola. We did the Lola story, remember? And so we're going to read another book with him if Susie Q will behave. Okay, this one's called Milo the Martian Dog. Ooh. Milo the Martian Dog. And he says, "Hey everyone, my name is Milo and I have a great life. I have a little boy that I get to sleep in his bed every night. His mother works from home and makes sure I get my food every day. I'm pretty independent, but having someone who cares about me is such a good thing." Isn't that true? But it wasn't always that way when I first crashed here on Earth. Oh, look. I was so lonely and thought I would never get back to my home, to my friends. Oh yes, I'm an alien Martian, to be exact. I know most people here on Earth think Martians are green or have antennas, but that's not even close. Huh. Now we Martians can do some stuff that most would call magic. I personally can talk to people with my mind. It's how I met Gus, the little boy I live with. He was at the park not too far away from where my ship crash landed. I heard him thinking very loud, so I folded my ship up and put it in my spacesuit, which you would call a collar. Like a dog collar. Huh, interesting. Our science is much more advanced than Earth's, but I'm not a scientist, so I can't quite explain how it works. I changed the collar's shape to match those here on Earth, and then made my way towards Gus's thoughts. I found him sitting on a park bench, looking kind of sad. He was here at the park, missing his dad. Oh, isn't that a cute Martian? Oh, he does look sad, doesn't he? I had no idea how to fix my ship, and he looked like he needed a friend. So I decided I would let him in on my secret. I started talking to him from my mind to his, and he was talking out loud while looking around to see where I was. Then I put my paw on him and said, "I am a special dog who can talk to you and understand you. There's no other humans here." After looking around, he looked down at me and still wasn't sure if I was playing a trick on him. I told him, "Yes, I am the little white dog in front of you, and I'm here to help." "I know you are worried about your dad." He smiled and asked how I could do what I was doing. And I said, "I am an alien." With that, he broke out laughing. He just knew someone was messing with him. I said to him, "It's true, I'm from Mars." He was not believing me, so I decided to prove it to him. I pulled my ship out of my collar and unfolded it in front of him. It sat there, whirring, beeping, and flashing lights. What would you do? Look at that. Once it was out, he looked and realized I must be telling him the truth. He inspected it and was asking me a million questions I didn't have the answers to. I told him I was stranded here on Earth because when my ship crashed, it broke my radio. I told him I was here to help him if there's anything I could do. Look at that alien ship. He asked if I could come home with him and live with him and his mother, at least until his dad came back, as he was in the military and stationed overseas. I knew he needed me, so I agreed. I asked him, how are we going to get this by your mother? He said, I have an idea about that. Yeah. He said, my mom is a sucker for a wounded animal. So when we get to my house, I'll go in first. Then when I give you the signal, you come limping up on the porch and do little whine holding up your paw. Once mom sees you, she'll insist we look after you until we find your owner, and you don't have one, so you'll be in. Then you can live with me until my dad comes home. You think that's a good idea, huh? Once we get home, the plan goes off without a flaw. Mom wraps Milo in a blanket and brings him into the house. She goes about making some food for both Milo and Gus, while at the same time making a call to a vet she had found in her area. He advised her to feed Milo and watch him until morning and bring him in then for an exam. Oh boy. I wonder if the vet's going to find out he's a Martian. After they had eaten, Milo settled down near Gus's bed. They watched some TV while they shared a bowl of popcorn, Gus throwing pieces to Milo, who caught them in midair. Milo was talking to Gus through his mind, asking him about this thing his mom called the vet. Gus let him know that it's just a doctor for animals. This is reassuring to Milo, who tells Gus it's been a long day and he needs to sleep. Gus tells him good night and rolls over to sleep himself. Aw, look at him, cute, all cuddled up in the blankets. The next morning, Milo wakes up to the sun shining through the window and what looked like a blue jay chirping away outside. Both smelled bacon and eggs being cooked for breakfast. They shared a look at each other and walked down the hall to the little kitchen. The mom, Millie, placing eggs on plates beside bacon strips with pieces of toast on the edge. Yum. Milo sitting on the floor waiting for his plate, and Gus is sitting in one of the chairs at the kitchen table. Millie passes out the plates and then sits down to have breakfast. Sounds of chewing and silverware clanking on plates are the only things that are heard for the next few minutes. Then, out of the blue, Gus yells out, his mouth still half full of food, When we going to the vet? Pieces of bacon came out of his mouth and landed on the table. Please finish eating before you start talking, she said. We'll go in about an hour. His appointment is at 11 a.m., she said, picking up Milo's already empty dish and placing them in the sink. Everyone piles into the car and Millie starts the motor and they're off to their destination. Upon arriving at the vet, Milo is put on a leash and the three of them walk into the vet's office to have Milo checked out. Gus, knowing nothing was wrong with Milo, was busy checking out all the other families who were here with their animals. There were 2 families with dogs of their own and another with a tiger-striped cat with white paws named Mittens. Then Gus was drawn to a man who was eating a breakfast burrito who had a duck named Nachos in a cage. Oh, how funny, having a duck. Aww. The vet takes Milo back to the exam room to check him out to make sure he's indeed healthy. Gus and Millie waited in the waiting room while the other patients went in and came out and left the building. Then, as Milo was on his way out from the back, the vet came out and had a puzzled look on his face. Mrs. Martin, there will be no charge for today because our x-ray machine is acting up. It keeps showing Milo here having 2 hearts and 3 lungs. Oh, how strange. My physical exam went well and I don't see anything wrong with him, so I'm sure he is fine. In fact, he seems quite intelligent, almost as if he understands the words I was saying. So you can take him home now, but bring him back if he starts acting injured again. As Milo, Millie, and Gus started to leave, the guy who had Nachos the duck started choking on a piece of food. He then passed out and landed face up, his face starting to turn blue. Milo, seeing this, tells Gus to let him off the leash so he can help the choking man. Gus unhooks Milo. He immediately runs across the room, jumps up on a chair, and then forcefully leaps on the man's stomach. The man's mouth opens and a piece of burrito goes flying across the room with a splat. Within seconds, the siren of the ambulance that someone had called can be heard heading to the vet's office. Millie was standing there trying to figure out what she had just seen. Gus, she said, why did you unhook Milo's leash and how did he know how to save that man? The questions just kept popping into her head. Then the paramedics came through the door and started to give first aid to the man lying on the floor. Gus whispered to his mom, Milo's special, and I knew he could do it. Milo walked back over and sat next to Millie and Gus. You ready to go, Millie said to Milo, who she wasn't quite sure, but she thought she saw him shake his head yes. After the paramedics went to leave, one of them stopped where they all 3 stood and said, that's a special dog you have there. This man owes his life to that little white ball of fur. If I was his people, I'd take him for a treat. He certainly deserves it. Millie told the medic it wasn't her dog, but she would certainly make sure to get him a treat. She said, he just showed up at her house last night. The medic said, well, sounds like something or someone thought you two might make a good match, at least for now. I think you're right, Millie said. I will look for his people, but until they show up, Gus and I will give him the best home we can. Gus grabs the leash and again attaches it to Milo's collar, and they all 3 leave. Once at the car, we got in one by one, and Gus rolled down a window so I could look out and let the wind blow through my hair. I may be a highly advanced canine, but there's nothing like the wind blowing through your fur. We drove down the street towards a place called Starbucks. Gus told me they had a delicious thing called a pup cup that I was sure to enjoy. Shout out for Starbucks. After we stopped at Starbucks, Millie stopped by the print shop to pick up the flyers she had ordered and then spent the next 3 hours putting them on these things called telephone poles. Millie said as much as she loved having me, if I had other people, then she wouldn't want to keep me from them. It started to get close to dinner time, and we had all worked hard putting up those flyers, so we decided to get some food. Smoked sausages and mashed potatoes was what Millie fixed for dinner, and boy, was it good. I had forgotten about meat, as we don't get it much on Mars. Then after dinner, Gus and I were starting to get tired, so we went down the hall to his bedroom. I climbed in his bed, and he went to his bathroom to brush his teeth. Once that was accomplished, he jumped in bed with me and snuggled together for the rest of the night. Oh, look. Oh, isn't that sweet? We spent the next 2 weeks looking for my people by putting flyers on those telephone poles. Gus and I knew my people are on Mars and have no way of seeing them, but Millie didn't. So after about a month, Millie accepted that she was not going to find my people and officially adopted me. That's how I began my adventures here on Earth with the Martin family. Strange, but it's true. Gus and I always find something to do. And that's the end. Oh, it's so nice when a dog can be a part of a family. All right, grandkids. I love you. A bushel and a peck, a bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck. I'll read you later.